Quota increase for cross-border travel to the mainland. Central government appoints Zheng Yanxiong to head Beijing's liaison office in Hong Kong. Health Secretary explains difficulties doctors face after two were charged with manslaughter. Good evening and welcome. Just a week after cross-border travel without quarantine resumed, authorities have allocated extra daily quotas for trips up north from next Wednesday to Saturday, the days leading up to the Lunar New Year. A group helping cross-border families welcomes the decision.
The latest move comes as quotas for crossing the border between January 18th and 21st were fully booked earlier, as many are hoping to return to the mainland before the Lunar New Year. Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan wrote on his social media today that more slots will be allocated for cross-border travel after negotiations with mainland counterparts. It was announced this afternoon that the most new slots will be distributed to the busiest control point, the Lok Ma Chau spur line. 10,000 extra will be added to the quota each day during the 4 days before the Lunar New Year. 5,000 more slots will be allocated to Shenzhen Bay Port, while the quota remains unchanged for the less busy Man Kam Tow control point. Following the announcement, the online booking system still functioned smoothly, with extra spots still up for grabs late this afternoon for the 4 specific dates. A group that helps cross-border families said the move can help these people reunite with their families. The group said 1/3 of its 60,000 members were previously unable to grab a spot. Meanwhile, high-speed trains between the city and the mainland will resume tomorrow, but the first day of ticket sales was sometimes chaotic. Transport and Logistics Secretary Lam Sai-ho noted that as the high-speed rail service had halted for 3 years, it required more time for the rail operator to adapt to the changes and prepare for the resumption of service.
MTR will deploy additional staff to provide assistance to passengers in, for example, checking the PCR results, as well as launching the form for the health that required by the mainland side. I am confident that through these efforts, the situation tomorrow will be much better.
Lam also said the resumption of cross-border travel is causing bottlenecks in air travel, but he said airlines will provide more flights from March onwards, from the current 200 flights a week to about 300 per week.
Zheng Yanxiong, head of the Office for Safeguarding National Security in Hong Kong, has been appointed director of Beijing's liaison office in the city, as well as advisor to the Committee for Safeguarding National Security. The announcement came from China's State Council this afternoon. Zheng Yanxiong is originally from Shantou, a city in eastern Guangdong, where he worked for many years. In June 2020, he was appointed director of the Office for Safeguarding National Security. With immediate effect, Zheng replaces Luo Huining, who took up the position as the liaison office chief back in 2020. Professor Lau Siu-kai noted it's the first time someone with national security background is taking up the position.
The central government thinks that Hong Kong is still facing a serious or grave national security situation. In the case of Zheng Yanxiong, if he becomes the new head of the liaison office and become the central government's representative in the National Security Commission, he can play an important role in helping government to handle national security issues.
Hong Kong reported 7,749 COVID cases today. Among them, over 7,500 were locally acquired. 54 more patients succumbed to the virus. In the past 2 weeks, the number of confirmed cases in Hong Kong has dropped from nearly 30,000 to less than 10,000 cases per day. Government Health Advisor Professor Ivan Hong explained that this is due to the city's increasing vaccination rates and the number of infected people having reached 5 million, creating a mixed immune barrier. Hong expects the downward trend in cases will continue in the coming days. Hong also suggested the authorities should scrap quarantine rules for COVID patients and other measures such as testing before going to schools, elderly homes and hospitals. 2 public hospital doctors were charged with manslaughter yesterday over the treatment of a patient who suffered from liver failure before her death over 5 years ago. Secretary for Health Lo Chung-mao said it is possible for doctors to make mistakes as they often work under heavy pressure. Lo urged the medical sector to maintain its professionalism and remain calm. Memo Sengai has more.
At the ceremony of the Hong Kong Academy of Medicine, Secretary of Health Lo Chung-mao mentioned the medical incident concerning 2 public hospital doctors being charged with the manslaughter of a patient with severe liver failure.
Our heart goes with the 2 doctors who are involved in this. I'm sure every one of you are deeply concerned with the 2 doctors' well-being, and also, in particular, concerned with the impact of this case on the future of our professional practice. I urge everyone to stay calm and maintain our professionalism to continue to serve our patients.
Lo said he understands the case has caused a lot of concerns in the medical sector, adding the hospital authority will do its best to support the 2 doctors. The health secretary also pointed out the level of stress that all doctors endure during their work is massive, and under such an environment, mistakes will happen. Lo also commented on possible government regulations on the purchase of drugs containing paracetamol. He said this could help prevent the public from taking too high doses, which can lead to serious consequences such as liver failure. Mimosa Nai, TVB News.
The White House has continued to insist that it has been very transparent with the press and the American people regarding the classified documents found in President Joe Biden's former office and Wilmington home. Despite the investigations into the matter, Biden will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress on February the 7th. Daniel Rao tells us more.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was grilled by reporters about the timing of the documents' discovery and why it took so long for the public to learn about them. She said the Biden administration had been transparent on the issue.
I've been in here almost every day since we got back from Mexico City, standing here taking your questions at length, so that we're not avoiding anything here.
On Thursday, the White House disclosed that a document with classified markings from Biden's time as vice president was found in December in Biden's personal library, along with other classified documents found in his garage. Shortly after that revelation, Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed a special counsel, Robert Hur, to investigate the matter. The situation echoes a wider-ranging inquiry directed at former President Donald Trump's handling of classified documents. Biden and Trump now each face inquiries from special prosecutors who are typically appointed to politically sensitive cases to ensure a degree of independence from Justice Department leadership. However, some legal experts say their cases are not the same. The White House said Biden's attorneys found a small number of classified documents and turns them over after discovery. Trump resisted doing so until an August FBI search turned up about 100 classified documents. This has raised questions about whether Trump or his staff obstructed the investigation. Daniel Roll, TVB News.
A safety monitoring system has found that Pfizer and BioNTech's updated COVID-19 shot could be linked to a type of brain stroke in older adults. That's according to preliminary data analyzed by U.S. health authorities. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Food and Drug Administration said that a CDC vaccine database uncovered a possible safety issue. People aged 65 or older were more likely to have an ischemic stroke 21 days after receiving the Pfizer-BioNTech bivalent shot, compared with between days 22 to 44. An ischemic stroke is caused by blockages in arteries that carry blood to the brain. In the war in Ukraine, Russia said its forces have taken control of Soledar in the eastern part of the country, but Kyiv says its troops are still fighting in the town. Tracy Furness reports.
Gunfire rang out in the small eastern Ukraine town of Soledar Friday, where Ukrainian and Russian troops have been fighting each other. Russia claimed that its forces captured the fiercely contested salt mining town in what would mark a rare victory for Moscow after a series of setbacks in its war in Ukraine. But Ukrainian authorities say the fight for the town continues. In his daily address Friday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, "The fight for the Donetsk region continues. The battle for Bakhmut and Soledar from Crimea to other cities and villages of the east of our country continues. Despite the enemy deploying most of its forces in this direction, our warriors, the armed forces of Ukraine, all defense and security forces are defending the state." Moscow has painted the battle for Soledar and nearby Bakhmut as key to capturing the entire region of the Donbass, and also a way to grind down the best Ukrainian forces and prevent them from launching counterattacks elsewhere. But that cuts both ways, and Ukraine said its defense of the eastern strongholds has helped tie up Russian forces. This Ukrainian soldier, Vadim, said Russian troops have been attacking in waves and have suffered a lot of losses. Meanwhile, a Ukrainian tank and armoured military vehicles were seen Friday driving along the road near Bakhmut, less than 10 kilometres from Soledar. The battles around both towns have claimed the lives of thousands of soldiers. A Russian foreign ministry official said that Belarus may enter the conflict, but now its border area is heavily waterlogged, making an imminent attack from there unlikely. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Still to come on tonight's news. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida meets US President Joe Biden in Washington. Tornadoes torment Alabama and other US states. And legendary Hong Kong DJ Uncle Ray passed away. Welcome back to TVB News. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on Friday met United States President Joe Biden on his first visit to the White House since taking office in October. The pair held wide-ranging talks as Japan looks to build security cooperation with allies amid growing concerns over regional security issues. Nazvi Karim reports.
In his speech at the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida identified three future challenges: solidarity among Group of Seven nations, relations with the so-called Global South countries, and dealing with China. Though China was third on the list, Kishida's main focus was on Beijing. He said China's views on the international order differs from Japan's and its allies, some aspects of which Tokyo will never accept. Kishida added that Japan's national security strategy entails response to China through national strength and cooperation with allies and friends. Earlier, Kishida met US President Joe Biden and held brief discussions at the Oval Office. His visit to the US is the last leg of a trip to G7 members, having previously stopped in France, Italy, Britain and Canada. Biden said the US was fully behind Japan's path of building up its defense spending, with Tokyo having held a largely pacifist stance since the end of World War II.
We're modernizing our military alliance, building on Japan's historic increase in defense spending and new national security strategy. Let me be crystal clear. The United States is fully, thoroughly, completely committed to the alliance, and more importantly to Japan's defense. The defense of Japan.
Kishida later attended a signing ceremony at NASA headquarters between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Japanese Foreign Minister Hayashi Yoshimasa on an agreement to strengthen space cooperation.
It'll strengthen our partnership in areas like research on space technology and transportation, robotic lunar surface missions, climate-related missions, and our shared ambition to see a Japanese astronaut on the lunar surface.
Blinken said the deal was a decade in the making and also targets the first woman and person of color on the moon. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Parts of southern United States have been seriously hit by tornadoes. Stunned residents tried to salvage belongings and rescue crews pulled survivors from beneath collapsed houses in the aftermath of tornadoes that killed at least 9 people in Georgia and Alabama. NBC has this report.
Even an eagle-eye view can barely tell the full story of the storm's devastation across parts of the South. Terrifying pictures of tornado sightings. With more than 36 reported tornadoes stretching across 6 states, including hard-hit Alabama, where some counties are under a state of emergency. In Selma, much of downtown took a direct hit. Inetta Smith has lived on this street most of her life.
This is your mother's house?
Yes.
And this is your house?
Yes.
Now, she says, both are uninhabitable. When the storm hit, her 78-year-old mother was right in the living room. Miraculously, she barely had a scratch.
She heard the windows breaking and the walls crackling and the walls falling in.
The storms brought winds so powerful they left power lines littering the streets, leaving tens of thousands without power.
Roofs are just gone, and trees look like toothpicks.
Governor Kay Ivey visited the damage.
And I'm going to make a call and try to talk to the president to encourage him to expedite the state of emergency.
The storm proved most deadly just east of Selma. NBC's Morgan Chesky is there.
Here in hard-hit Autauga County, where the storm left at least 7 people dead, the Johnson family is realizing just how close they came. Mother Amber sheltering inside a bathtub with her 2-year-old son, comforting him as that tornado struck.
It's going to be okay. Mommy's got you. Mommy's got you.
You closed your eyes as it hit, and when you opened them, you were outside.
Yes.
In Georgia, more devastation and deaths, including a 5-year-old child killed when a tree fell on the family car, and a state government employee who was out responding to the storm. While January tornadoes are not unheard of, the sheer strength of the storms and the number of them are unusual for the dead of winter. Back in Selma, a city known for its role in the civil rights movement, Green Street Baptist Church was under renovation. It stood for more than 100 years.
People were able to come here and worship. People that came from out of town were able to have somewhere to sleep. They had somewhere to eat.
For so many across the South, those very places are now in ruins. Blaine Alexander, NBC News, Selma, Alabama.
From Graceland in Memphis to Hollywood, California, friends and fans are remembering Lisa Marie Presley, who died suddenly on Thursday from a cardiac arrest. Living in the shadow of her late father, Elvis Presley, she shared her father's charisma and low, sultry voice and followed him professionally, releasing her own rock albums in the 2000s.
Well, Lights Out is the most popular of her songs simply because it was the first single from her first record. So it got the most attention and the biggest push. And it is a song about her family being buried in Memphis. She refers to that, and she herself will now be buried in Memphis alongside her father in back of Graceland.
Hollywood celebrities took to social media to pay tribute to Lisa Marie. Her former sister-in-law, La Toya Jackson, tweeted, "We miss you, Lisa. You will forever be in our hearts." Tom Hanks tweeted, "We are heartbroken over the loss of Lisa Marie Presley." And John Travolta tweeted, "Lisa, baby girl, I'm so sorry. I'll miss you, but I know I'll see you again." Mourners gathered at Graceland to pay tribute to Lisa Marie Presley, who will be laid to rest on the mansion grounds next to her son Ben, father Elvis, and grandparents. In Britain, a major supermarket in London has taken to padlocking its sausages and bacon in its fridges to prevent shoplifting as the cost of living crisis hits people hard. The Telegraph reported that a Tesco supermarket on Tower Bridge Road in Southwark, London, has taken to locking up its bacon, sausages and ribs to prevent theft amid a surge of shoplifting due to the cost of living crisis. Other supermarkets are said to be ramping up security with tags found on items such as milk, cheese and eggs. And customers have to ask staff for high-value products such as steak, as they are now kept in storerooms. Inflation on grocery prices hit a record 14.7% last month, adding an extra £682 to an average annual shopping bill. Here in Hong Kong, Reynaldo Maria Cordero, better known as Uncle Ray, passed away at the COHK Medical Center aged 98 yesterday. Director of Broadcasting Eddie Chung mourned the loss of the godfather of music.
I've been learning also about music from the United States, from England. So I went to my late night show called All the Way with Ray, which is popular until the day I retired.
Cordero kicked off his career back in 1949 at Rediffusion Television as a music program host and scriptwriter. He later joined RTHK English Channel in 1960. Uncle Ray interviewed many big names, including the Beatles, and worked with many famous singers in Hong Kong. The veteran DJ got into the Guinness Book of World Records in the year 2000 as the world's most durable DJ. He was honored with a Silver Bihania Star last year and received the MBE before the handover. And that's the news. Thanks for watching.